that it is. And if you want to weigh in on any of the cases that we follow for you, we have an 800 number for that. We can call it 24/7 and give your opinion. It's 888-554-5537, 888-5-KILLER to weigh in. Let's go to this phone call right here.
Hey, Tony. This is Christy from Los Angeles. Just had a couple questions and wanted to get your thoughts on something about Bryan Kohberger. One is, I know it's innocent until proven guilty. My personal opinion is that he's guilty. I mean, it just seems pretty obvious. But I'm wondering, the one thing that, all the evidence that we know of even just seems very overwhelming. But it bugs me that they've not found any of the victim's DNA in his apartment or office or car. The car, I think I can understand. I guess you can, he drove it across the country and, bleached it and cleaned it and whatever. But it just seems crazy that you would think, even if someone's wearing, protective gear, that there's no transfer DNA from 4 bloody victims anywhere in his house, his apartment. Because unless you're wearing a hazmat suit, how do you not get any anything from the crime scene on you? And there's no bloody footprints. What do we think happened? Do we think that he just disrobed and got in his car and what, how does that work? I just really am curious. There's no trail leading out, and I just feel I can't imagine that this could be anyone else other than him with all the evidence that's piled up there. But I do think that's strange. And so I'm just curious kind of what you make of that. Also, I wanted to throw out just layman's guessing of a defense strategy, because they're not offering an alibi and asking for time to craft an alibi or whatever. I feel like one potential alibi could be that he went to that house to buy drugs, because we know he had a drug problem in the past, and that's an illegal activity. So I wonder if they could say something like he went there to buy drugs and walked in and they were murdered and he was terrified and he ran away. That's bullshit, but still, it's possible. Or he could just say I went there to buy drugs and when I left they were all still alive. It must have happened after I left, but that's why I was there when my phone shows I was there. That's why I turned my phone off, because it's suspicious to be buying drugs, and I didn't want to get in trouble for that. And I didn't come out and say that I'd been there when I found out they were murdered, because I didn't want to get in trouble for that. I don't know. That's maybe just an idea. I just remember the Casey Anthony trial, that when that actually went to trial and her lawyer, Jose Baez, started opening arguments by being yes, the daughter did die, but it was an accident and it's this weird situation. It was all this nonsense story, but it was kind of this crazy narrative that they had created out of nothing. And so I just feel maybe the same thing could happen here.
I think that's something a lot of people have thought of as being the narrative. I doubt they're going to go down that road with a narrative like that. Supposedly he does have some sort of alibi. At least that's what they keep saying, to being exonerated. As far as why that has not yet been said, that's a mystery to me, and I think everybody else. If you have exonerating evidence, you're going to throw it out there and get him freed and move on. If there truly is exonerating evidence that is that clear cut. But if there's not really that clear cut of evidence to exonerate him, then you're talking a defense, not necessarily exonerating evidence. So it's going to be interesting to see exactly where all of that goes and how it all plays out. What are your thoughts?
I think she makes a really valid point, because why wasn't there blood all over the place? I used to work in oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. I got a thought on that too, but go ahead.
Okay. I used to work in a vet clinic, and I've come home and gotten in my car, and maybe after a really horrific hit by car case, I've changed out of my scrubs. I've tried to clean myself up and I still have something on me. And it's like, oh my God, I don't know how you can get rid of all of the DNA that's out there. So, she does make a valid point that he almost needed to be in a hazmat suit, because if you are stabbing somebody, that blood's going to be all over. We saw pictures of the blood dripping out of the house. There was so much of it. So where'd it go?
Well, I think that's part of the question. Could he have been in a hazmat suit? I guess, but the witness that saw him leave did not describe someone that was in a hazmat suit, and there was not a hazmat suit that was left behind. Where did it go? I don't know exactly. I would assume that a lot of it was cleaned up before he was caught. But keep in mind, too, just because we haven't heard that there's more DNA evidence found on his person or at his home or anywhere, doesn't mean they don't have it. It simply means that it's behind closed doors right now. There's many things that come to light at trial that you will not know about prior to that trial. They're holding on to it. So very likely the defense and the prosecution both know if that does exist, but neither are going to want to talk about that beforehand. So unless something like that leaks out, we'll find out in the trial. But as we found out, like in the Lori Vallow Daybell trial, there was a lot of DNA evidence there. There was things that we had no idea existed until the trial got underway. So
yeah, and you are making a valid point. We don't have a right as the public to know what the investigators know. They hold a lot of things close to the vest because they need to. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot we don't know, and there's a lot we aren't going to know until that trial hits. And maybe even then, they won't let us know a lot of the things until afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, some things just stay sealed as well. But I would guess that there's more that we're going to find out come October when this thing goes to trial, if it goes to trial in October, as far as what evidence they have. We know what they've released publicly, but you can put money on there is a whole other trove of stuff that we will find out once that takes place. So,
absolutely.
Hope that answers your question. If you want to weigh in on something, 888-5-KILLER, 888-554-5537.
You're locked into the Hidden Killers podcast.
Want more? Start binging on all of our true crime podcasts right now through Apple Podcasts and get an ad-free experience when you sign up to be a True Crime Today Premium Plus member exclusively on Apple Podcasts.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast dropping soon.
Press subscribe now.
This is the Hidden Killers podcast.
Want more? Start binging on all of our true crime podcasts right now through Apple Podcasts and get an ad-free experience when you sign up to be a True Crime Today Premium Plus member exclusively on Apple Podcasts.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast dropping soon.
Press subscribe now.